Hey everybody, Clay Archer, CEO, DBC Technology, and I've got an interesting one today. Today we're going to talk about the new G6 Mini Dome. It's using that same 1/1/8 sensor that they've used in several other of their cameras, but this time it's a dome form factor and it's small. So there's a lot to like about this, but there's a few things that also leave my head scratching. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to cover the good, the bad, and the ugly with this new dome, and we're going to decide if it's the right camera for your installation. So let's get into the specs real quick. This is a 1/1/8 inch sensor, which we've seen in several other G6 cameras. It's 8 megapixels and it's got the multi-tops AI engine, so it will do face and license plate detection. It's got two-way audio, so it has both a microphone and speaker, and it's got IR night vision. So let's jump into the unboxing. It's got the typical beautiful UniFi packaging. It's got the normal backplate. If you've ever mounted a dome camera from UniFi before, you put the metal plate behind a ceiling tile or whatever you're mounting it to, and then you put these screws through it, and then they just mount into the back of the unit. The real headliner of this unit is the size. You can see in Daniel's hands here, it is a tiny unit. It is more typical of like the Ultra line has been in the past. It's really small. We'll do some comparisons in size here in a bit, but this is a size that's been typical of their smaller sensor cameras, not their bigger sensor cameras. So that's a nice addition here. The camera itself comes with two different covers. One is a little sleeker and one has a little screw hole where you can screw it down, and that gets it its IK08 rating. So if you don't need the physical security, you can go with a sleeker cover. If you do, it is included in the kit. On the back of the unit itself is a reset switch and an RJ45 adapter. And this is just regular PoE, doesn't even need PoE Plus to power this. Also note there's two little buttons on the side to take the covers off. You just depress those two buttons and it pulls right off. It's a really nice little piece of industrial design. So with that, let's get it installed. It's a really simple install. Like I said before, there's not a lot to it. Also, just to mention it while they're mounting it here, you can see the size of the unit is really, really small. And they held up the two covers there to show you just the differences. And really the only difference there is that screw hole for the tamper resistance. And as you can see, it's a little bit of a custom install in our office where we don't have hung ceiling. So we just mount it to a rafter and we use that just as if we would through a hung ceiling tile. If it was a ceiling tile, we would poke some holes through it and mount the hardware straight to the back of the ceiling tile and just cinch it down. Obviously, you could do the same thing with a hard ceiling as well. It's a real simple adoption process as well. You could do it with your phone. You can see here, I logged into my ENVR core and just adopted it through the web interface, and it did a quick update and I was good to go. Just really quickly before I went to the software, I just wanted to throw up a couple of items that were of comparable size. You may have noticed that the latest G6 and G6 Pro domes, they were much bigger. These are much more comparable with the older domes. So I threw up a G5 dome and you can see it's pretty similar in size to that. Obviously that G5 dome is an older camera with a smaller sensor, but you can see a really good comparison of size there. I also put up the G5 Ultra turret, which is one of my favorite cameras just for size comparison. And they look very similar in size, a little bit smaller footprint on the G5 Ultra turret, a little bit taller, meaning it comes down a little bit further with the ceiling, and it's also a smaller sensor there on the G5 Ultra turret. But with that, let's jump in the software real quick. And what I've done here is I've brought up 4 cameras here that I think are this camera's direct competitors. So we have the G6 Mini Dome, we have the G6 Dome, we have the G6 Pro Dome, and we have the AI Dome. At this point, these are the 4 modern domes that you would put in an installation. You can see here the G6 Mini Domes. It's a really nice little camera, really good image here. I can zoom in a little bit. This is digital zoom, of course, but really good. It's got Andrew's face recognized there with the facial recognition. It's got all the people being recognized and outlined there. Really nice wide image. We'll get into the specs here and compare these cameras specs wise, but they're very, very similar, all these cameras. And so there's not a lot in it. So in the G6 Dome, this is a really, comparable comparison here. Image looks really similar and zoom looks really similar. Put object overlay on so you can see it. It finding the people as well, and it's finding Andrew. Very similar, same sensor. So obviously they're going to look very similar. The main difference is that there's just size. So the G6 Pro Dome has zoom. So in its widest zoom level, it's a little bit wider, but you can see still same, pretty typical, similar image quality. This one has a little bit bigger sensor. This is the 1/1.2 sensor. So it's a little bit better at night. You can see, you grabbed Jana's face there when she turned to present it. And the last one here is the AI Dome. Also, again, very similar image sensor here. You can see the same detections there. Nobody's presenting their faces, but it operates pretty much the same. So let me do this. You can see there it grabbed Jana's face when she presented to it. Let's go ahead and take a look at these and compare them to the G6 Mini Dome. So obviously the G6 Mini Dome's not in comparison right now, but you can see Price-wise, the G6 Mini Dome is coming in at $299, and for me, this is kind of the paradox. This is the rub for me. It depends on which way you look at it, whether that's a good deal or not so good deal. You can look here at the G6 Pro Dome is $499, the G6 Dome is $279, and the Mini, you can say, hey, it's got two-way audio now, and it's a little bit smaller, so $20 more, that makes a lot of sense. And, it's a great deal when you compare it to the AI Dome. But where it goes a little astray to me is that the G6 Instant that has the same sensor in it is $179. And honestly, when I got the unit, I thought it would be closer to that range than the higher range. So let's jump in the specs real quick, and I'll just go over the main differences here. First of all, obviously the size is much smaller. This is 100 millimeters by 56 millimeters, which is much smaller than the other units. Also, the IR night vision is 20 meters, which puts it a little bit below the G6 Dome, but above the G6 Instant. Obviously, for size there, you're probably making some concessions to get that in there. It has face recognition, license plate recognition, and smart detections. It is also a 4K camera. It's the same 109 by 56 by 134 that all of them are, except for the G6 Pro Dome. It's got two-way audio like only the G6 Instant has. It's IK08 tamper resistant, and it comes with a ceiling and wall mount that are included. Its power method is PoE, and pretty much all of the specs are the same as the G6 Dome all the way down. Power consumption is 9 watts versus 9.2 watts, and it uses the same quad-core ARM Cortex A53 based chip. And weight comes in at a svelte 254 grams or 9 ounces. By the specs there, it's a pretty nice little jump up from the G6 Dome. With the two-way audio, the smaller size. It does have a little less powerful IR, but I think the $20 jump up from the G6 Dome makes a lot of sense. Where I was hoping would fall was between the G6 Dome and the G6 Instant for pricing. But, there's a couple things to consider here. One, it is a much smaller size. So there is some engineering goes into that smaller size. It is the smallest camera of this G6 lineup by a long way. Also, I think this is more of a commercial corporate installation than a home user installation with these domes. And if you work in that environment, you know that there are some design criteria, sometimes some discretion, that people want the smallest cameras that are available. So if I'm working with an interior designer and I show her a big camera or a small camera, most often they are going to choose the smaller camera. To be fair though, some people really don't care about the size of it. And if you're putting this up on a 12-foot ceiling, you really probably won't notice the difference that much. So if you fit that criteria and you want it a little smaller and you want the two-way audio, I think this might be a fit. But if you look at it compared to the G6 Instant and also the G6 Turret, which I hadn't brought up, at $179 and $199, the G6 Turret may be a better fit for a lot of people. It's a really attractive unit. I don't think it's that much more intrusive in the environment. And, if I'm putting 10 of these in, I can save $1,000. I lose the two-way audio because I only get a microphone here. And I am a little bit taller, so instead of 56 millimeters tall, I am 95 millimeters tall. But I have that same 100 millimeter footprint. I don't know how often in my typical 10 to 20 camera installations I would choose the G6 Mini Dome over the G6 Turret, simply because at 10 cameras, it's $1,000 more. And the only thing that I'm really losing there is a little bit of height and the two-way audio. So let's wrap this up, and who is this for? If you're doing a commercial install and you have some design criteria, the G6 Mini Dome is going to be the most discreet camera of all these cameras. And if you need two-way audio, I think it's a no-brainer camera. But for most, I think the G6 Turret and the G6 Instant are a much better value at $199 and $179 respectively. But as always with Ubiquiti, I really like the way they built out this camera ecosystem. There's an option here for everybody. So if you have certain needs or have to hit a certain budget, there's a camera in this ecosystem for you. And as always mentioned, you can mix and match these cameras. So if you have somewhere where you want the smallest possible camera, like a reception room, or somewhere where the design aesthetic is super important, you could put these there and then put G6 turrets where you don't care as much about the aesthetic or don't need two-way audio. And by value engineering that, you can find the right solution for you and your client. So let me know if there's anything else you want me to test here. I am going to include this camera in my All Cameras Compared 2026 video that should be coming out shortly. And if you're a small business in the Southeast United States looking for a managed service provider, please hit us up at dpctechnology.com. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, put them down below. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video.